Ever stop and think, where was your phone actually made? Who grew the coffee beans for your morning cup? Or where were the clothes you're wearing right now stitched together? Well, the answers to those questions, they tell the story of our modern world, and that story is all about globalization. Right now, our planet is this incredible, tangled web of connections. We've got goods, money, and ideas flying across borders every single second. This massive, complex system, that's what we call globalization. In this explainer, we're going to dig into its history to really understand how we got here and what it means for every single one of us. So, let's start at the beginning.
All right, so before we dive into the nitty-gritty of who wins and who loses, we got to get on the same page. What is globalization really? And where did it even come from?
Okay, at its heart, globalization is all about the growing economic integration of the world. Think of it in three key pieces. First, the worldwide trade of goods, like your sneakers. Second, the flow of investment. That's money moving between countries to build factories and businesses. And third, the super fast spread of technology and culture, how an app can be designed in California and used in Kenya almost instantly. Now, I know globalization feels like a really modern buzzword, but the idea itself, it's not new at all. Its roots stretch way back to the Industrial Revolution. I mean, think about it. Back in the 19th century, Great Britain basically became the world's first economic superpower, all because of its incredible manufacturing and steam-powered ships and trains. But that was just the beginning. The whole process really hit the accelerator after World War II. Then, in just the last 25 years or so, the internet came along and completely changed the game. And just when you thought it couldn't get any faster, India and China opened up their economies, and boom, the global labor force pretty much doubled overnight. Each of these steps was a huge leap forward. But, a big picture history lesson doesn't tell the whole story, does it? To really get a grip on globalization, we have to zoom in from that 30,000-foot view and see how these massive changes actually play out in people's everyday lives. And this is where you really see the two sides of the same coin. Let's take Santosh in Bangalore, India. For him, the IT boom was a golden ticket, allowing him to start a successful online travel agency. But then you have Dean, a talented car engineer near Detroit. He lost his job when his company shut down its factory. It's the exact same global force, creating completely opposite realities.
So, what's the engine driving stories like Dean's and Santosh's? Well, a lot of the time, it's this thing called outsourcing. It's pretty simple, really. It's when a company takes one part of its business, say its factory or its call center, and moves it to another country, usually to save a lot of money.
And why on earth do they do it? Well, it almost always comes down to economics. Global competition is fierce, creating this huge pressure to cut costs. By outsourcing, companies can tap into lower wages or find highly skilled people like software engineers who cost less than they would back home.
And this whole dynamic leads us to one of the biggest, and I mean biggest, criticisms of globalization. Because even if the total world economy is growing, that wealth isn't always shared equally. This can create a massive gap, a growing inequality, not just between rich and poor people, but between entire nations. Okay, to really see how all these pieces fit together in the real world, let's look at a case study. And honestly, there's probably no better example of the global system in action, warts and all, than the world of fast fashion. I'm willing to bet you recognize a few of these logos. These brands are absolute masters of the global supply chain. They can take a design from the runway and have it on a store shelf in a matter of weeks. But that incredible speed and those super low prices, they come at a cost, a very real human and environmental one. Yeah, when you pull back the curtain on this industry, the picture can get pretty grim. We're talking about exploitative labor practices, people working insane hours for incredibly low wages. Safety measures are often an afterthought. The damage to the environment is massive, and at the end of the day, the whole system can trap the very communities making the clothes in a cycle of poverty. This quote, it just cuts right to the heart of the whole problem. It's from an investigation into one of these brands, where a source inside the company basically said that profits were simply more important than the well-being of the workers. It perfectly captures that central tension. This cartoon just powerfully illustrates that disconnect. You see a young child sitting on the floor stitching a soccer ball, but in his mind, he's dreaming of being outside playing the game with his friends. It's such a poignant image of the huge gap between the person who makes the product and the person who uses it. And this system has another massive side effect.
I mean, when a t-shirt costs less than a cup of coffee, it completely changes how we think about our stuff. It fuels what people call a throwaway society, where it's just easier and cheaper to buy something new than to fix what you have.
You want a number to put that into perspective? 1.5 million. That's the number of tons of clothes and textiles that go straight into UK landfills every single year. The scale of the waste is just mind-boggling.
Okay, so we've looked at the history, the human impact, and the dark side of a major global industry. So let's zoom back out one last time and take a look at the full picture of the world that globalization has built.
This mind map here is a fantastic way to break it all down. You can really see how globalization starts at the center and just radiates out, touching 4 huge parts of our modern lives.
So first up, the economy. We've got way more trade and competition, which creates those intense cost pressures we talked about. Second, technology. That's the internet, the connectivity that makes this whole thing possible. Third, our professional lives. It creates incredible new opportunities like for Santosh, but it can also lead to devastating job losses like for Dean. And finally, culture. It's led to so much more diversity and a much more integrated global society.
So, at the end of the day, globalization isn't some abstract economic theory you read about in a textbook. It's right there in the food we eat, the phones in our hands, and the very jobs we do. It shakes our world every single day, in ways we can see and in so many ways we can't. Which really just leaves us with one final big question. Now that we understand this incredibly complex web that brings us our clothes, our food, and our technology, what is our role? And what is our responsibility in this deeply interconnected world we've all built together?